Check, check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Thumbs up if you guys can hear us. Cherie is trying to get the lighting worked out. And it's a little dark because the sun just literally moved. Babe, if you can just tilt it back like it was before, I think that would be probably better. Lighten me up. That's what happens when you got a little chocolate in your blood. A little bit up. I think that's about as best it's going to get for now. But listen, guys, do me a huge favor. For those of you guys who are just jumping on, if this is your first time hanging out with us, I want you to put hashtag first time, hashtag first time. I'm super excited about what's going on, guys. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a great show. This is going to be a great show. So this is Breakfast with the Brookses. For those of you all who are just jumping in really quickly, my wife is getting ready to join us in a second. Good to see a thumbs up there. Good to see a thumbs up. If this is your first time, put hashtag first time. Cherie is trying to work out some lighting. But here's what we're going to do today, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about what it looks like to put your kids in an environment where they can win consistently. If you are a parent, put parent in the chat. If you are a parent, put parent in the chat. I'm trying to get my thing pulled up so I can see the comments. Let me know where you're chiming in from, city, and what the temperature is there, guys. We woke up this morning, it was 25 degrees, and I was like, Lord Jesus, what just happened? Shanice, good to see you. Good to see you. I'm glad that you're jumping in the room. Daniela, what's up? Nikkei, what's up? Linwood, thumbs up. Good to see you guys. Appreciate y'all for jumping in. Really quickly, guys, again, Cherie is trying to work on some things, trying to make sure that our lighting is okay. She playing technical person, so she's going to jump in. Parent. Let me ask you a question, guys. Officer Henry, good to see you, brother. I'm glad that you are in the room. Good to see you. Listen, let me ask you this question, guys. Has it been tough positioning your kid to win? Yes or no? Has it been tough positioning your kid to win? Yes or no? And when I say win, what I'm talking about, winning in life. I don't care what age they are. I don't care what grade they're in. But is your kid winning? And if they are, what are you doing? Just give me one thing. Yes, they are winning. No, and this is a transparent moment. No, they're not. What are you doing that's working? And is that difficult or not? Talk to us just a little bit. Officer Henry said, absolutely. Yes, sir. It's 11 degrees in Columbia, Maryland. Lord Jesus, I'm not going to complain. I thought 25 was bad. And once we got started, 25 quickly rose. I think it's over freezing now. So we're going up to 50 degrees here in Hampton Roads. But again, if you are a parent, I want you to put that in the chat, guys. And I want to talk to you a little bit about just some strategies and some ways that you guys can win. I think that unfortunately what happens is that too many parents are in situations where they see their kids going in a way that's not really cool, but they don't know what to do in order to be able to fix that. That looks much better. Just switch it out with this chair right here on the end, wherever your coat is hanging on, if you can bring it a little closer. And then I think that we should be good. I appreciate y'all bearing with us. I'm going to have Cherie get in here in a second, but I want to hear from you guys. Right. Metro Atlanta, Super Bowl City, tuning in from this year's Super Bowl. Linwood, why you had to make everybody jealous, bro? Okay, your city is hosting the Super Bowl. God bless America, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. You got all the lights on in that?
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate it. Good to have you, babe.
Good morning. Good morning.
You've been working hard. Do me a favor, pull your YouTube channel up. Right. And I'm going to go ahead and go to our notes. But we're talking, guys, this morning about strategies that's going to help parents position themselves and position their children to win. Let me just say this from the onset. I wish that I knew this information prior to getting married, prior to having children. Because at the end of the day, what I didn't factor for was that these little jokers got their own wills. Did you ever give that any thought, Cherie, when you were like at 2 years old, he got his own thing happening?
No, I didn't.
I'm going to fix this really quick. Go ahead.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that early on as a parent. I didn't realize that early on with my daughter. And in all honesty, I didn't allow her to assert her will. I was such a controller with my daughter when she was young that I didn't allow her the room or the freedom to assert her will. But as she got older, as I grew and I realized that was something I needed to do, because she did have to eventually learn how to be her own person.
Sure.
And so she needed to be able to function in that and have room to be able to operate in her own will. But I think that one thing that parents typically we don't do, either we're either one extreme or the other. Either we're extremely controlling, where we're going to control everything they do, control their every thought like they're these little robots. Or you have the parents on the other extreme that just let them kind of, if this is where the child is like, you fix dinner, I don't want that. And you become a short order cook because now you're fixing them what they want. Instead of there being some structure, there being some structure in their life, and them learning that in life you don't always get your way.
Right. I think that's important. I think unfortunately, and you guys have seen it. If you can agree with this, say I agree. If you disagree, say I disagree. But kids today are entitled. Mm-hmm. If you agree with that, say I agree. If you disagree with that, say I disagree. I believe that today, more than ever in the history of time, and I have to be really careful because that's a very strong statement. But I think that children, there's a reason why our children in our generation are more entitled than kids that we've seen in generations previous to us. Right. I think that there's a real reason for that.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from, number one, is opportunity, because we have more opportunities. We have access to more things. And I think that our generation, speaking of, I'm at the end of the baby boomer generation, but our generation and the generations behind us, because we had access to so much. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like, for my parents, they didn't grow up with this mentality when they had kids that they wanted their kids to have everything that they didn't have, because they didn't have anything.
Right.
And so they were starting to acquire wealth, starting to acquire things as they were becoming adults, as they were going through. And so for us, we started to, get exposed to certain things, and we had things, or we had friends that had mm-hmm. things. It became, more popular. People had homes. Had their own homes. And so as we started to have children, we developed this mentality. I want my children to have everything I didn't have.
Right.
And that unfortunately meant a lot of materialistic things for a lot of people. It's
yep.
like, I didn't have this. I want to, I got money now. I want to make sure that my kids get to experience all this thing. And I think that we miss it in that area when it comes to our children, because we give them all this material stuff. We want them to be involved in everything. We want
right.
them to be so cultured. We got them in 50 activities that we're missing what's really important yep. sometimes. And that's just spending time. That's just being present in their lives. And the truth of the matter is, kids want you more than they want stuff.
So before we get into the strategies, and guys, I want y'all to, and we're calming down a little bit, I want to settle into today's talk. Because it's serious in one sense, because I think that we are on the precipice of being able to shape an entirely different generation. And if we get this right, I think that we have an incredible opportunity to raise kids who legit can change the world, who legit can flip some things on its ear. If you think about it, I'm 52 and my mother is 72. She just turned 72 a week or two ago, right? When she was coming along, Cherie just got finished saying, and it's so true, there were certain things that she didn't have access to. We are actually raising children in a smarter generation than ever before. Think about it for a quick second. When I was growing up, in order for you to get information on something, you had to go to an encyclopedia, right? Right. Our children don't know what an encyclopedia is, right?
Google it.
Google it, right? So now think about it for one quick second. A 3-year-old has access to the world
on a phone,
by way of a phone. A 5-year-old, if they don't believe you, they can Google it. A 10-year-old, if they are questioning authority, they can figure out how to do something on YouTube.
Right. So examples of when we were growing up, your parents could say, I'm going to knock you into next week. I'm going to slap you and knock you into next week. Today, a child can be like,
how to slap a child.
You tell them that, they going on their phone. Can a parent slap you into next week? Oh, they can't? That ain't true? Okay.
And so now they're saying, Mom, that's not even physically possible.
You can't even do that, Mom. It's not real. That's not true.
Or
you can't slap the taste out of my mouth.
That's not even physically possible, Mommy. Like, why would you even say that, right? Or you had a kid, like what we would do when we were coming up, we were just coming into this notion that, parents weren't allowed to be abusive. It's not culturally correct. Right. And there was this thing called Child Protective Services. Right. We could pick up the phone. I don't know if y'all remember that. Right. You said, look, I'm going to call 911 or I'm going to call the people and I'm going to tell. And if you had parents like the ones that we grew up with in South Baltimore and in Southeast DC, they were the kind of people say, well, go ahead on and grab the phone. Go ahead. Cause I'm getting ready to give you something to tell them when you get them on the phone. You get what I'm saying? So look, I'm going to give you something. Look, I've seen they rip the phone. Look here. Look, you want me to call them for you? Like they dialing for you. You ain't got parents that'll do that because they know they will come and get you.
Right.
Parents ain't offering to call nobody for you these days. As a matter of fact, parents are often, Cherie, feeling, I think, more unempowered.
Right.
Than ever before. Right. And I don't even know if that's a word. What's the word for unempowered? Not empowered. I don't know what that word is.
Right. But a level of our authority has been taken away because of certain things that are in place nowadays and because of children being aware of it. And I think that there was this mystique when we were growing up. You really thought these people were going to come and, they were going to just take you away. You didn't really understand that.
Right.
But now, children have access to know that, okay, so if I call CPS or I call Child Protective Services, they're going to come. They may take me out the house, but my mom and dad are going to get in trouble too.
Yep.
But I'm going to be taken away
if
it's really this bad.
Right. Andres said, you can stay with them too. Please call. Please, look, call them because you can stay with them. I love it. I love it.
But I think that, unfortunately for children, I think that sometimes too much information is a bad thing or too much access. I don't want to say too much information, but I think them having access to certain things is too much. And to go back to the whole entitlement piece that we were talking about, I think that we have entitled our children because, like I said before, because we didn't have, that we wanted to give them the things that we were missing. But I also think that part of that is, I don't want to say it's out of guilt.
I think part of it is. I think part of it absolutely is. I think there's a guilt portion associated with this idea that because you're parenting, listen to me carefully, guys, out of how you feel. Y'all got to hear this.
Well,
there is a guilt associated with what you've gone through or what you did not have. And so therefore you're feeling guilty if your child doesn't have that or this.
Right. And it's the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing, but also the piece I guess I was more so talking about, especially for mothers. Because back in the day, and some of us may have grown up at homes where our moms were stay-at-home moms, even if not like my mom was while I was in elementary school. She was able to stay at home with us. And more so even the generations before that was normal. Both parents were not working outside of the household. And so there's a certain level of, and when I say guilt may be a strong word, but because you have to go to work, because you're not there for them, you want to give them stuff to you're giving them things to make up for your not being present.
Yeah.
And you're not being present because you're working. You're doing what you got to do. It's not you out running around and cutting up, but because you're not present,
you're trying to fill a gap.
Right, you're filling that void with stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
You want to give them, make sure that they have everything so that they're occupied. You want to have them in all these activities so that they have stuff to do because you don't have the time, unfortunately, to do it yourself.
So, babe, before we get into this content, the chat is lit. I love it. I love it. Damon and Marsha are saying we give them too much power, guilt. Angel says there's definitely a guilt factor in my case. That's got to be Marsha. Marsha, I hear you, light skin. Mother guilt is real. No, it's the truth. Because the dad wasn't there, I tried to make up for that, and we didn't have money to keep up with the Joneses. And so what happens is that you become the stopgap. You become the one that makes up. I think about my single mothers who legit are trying to, and I understand this, although I strongly disagree with the fact that you can be both mother and father because you are one person, for one.
Right.
2, you are one gender. You're not both.
Right.
3, there's a reason why you can be, you're a mom and God made you a mom. There's a nurturing thing that happens with you. And I think God designed you a specific way, same way with the father. But here is what you are saying that I get. I was raised by a single mother who did the most.
Right.
I was raised by a single mother who had to figure out, how do I make up the difference for what his father is not doing? So therefore comes the term, I'm both mother and father. So I get that. But here's what I'm going to caution you. And I get, if you're not careful, mom, listen to me really carefully. You will take on a responsibility, A, that doesn't belong to you, and B, you can't sustain.
Right.
I want y'all to hear that really clearly. It is not possible for me to be two people simultaneously. That's a farce. It's not true. But when I try to pull that off, what happens is that reality begins to set in. Mm-hmm. I can't keep this up.
Right.
I am stressed out. Oh my God, what are we going to do? So what we're going to talk to you guys today is 3 key strategies to building a team in order for your child to win. There's an African proverb, babe, that says, listen, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
And so for those of you guys who may be just jumping in, and again, I want y'all to do me a huge favor. Tag somebody, share this out. If you're new to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to www.youtube.com, the CR Coach. You're already on the channel. Just hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so that you get notified when we're going to go live. But I want you guys to be a part of this community because I think that we're growing people who are changing a generation, babe. And we're going to talk about some strategies that we get to not only see in other people's lives, but this is stuff that we've done.
Right, right. And I think that one thing in today's culture, we've gotten away from that village mentality. You know, when I was growing up, your neighbors, you know, you always had Miss So-and-so that lived down the street. She could correct you if you were out.
Miss Pearly.
You know, you cutting up, whatever. And so, and your parents welcomed that.
Yep.
And I think that we've grown into a very isolated culture where people are very isolated. They live isolated. You don't want nobody in your business. You
Right.
don't want nobody talking to your child. I'm like, if my kid is cutting up, I don't have a problem with you addressing them and saying, hey, you know, that's inappropriate. But I think that we've gotten away from that, you know, and it's a number of reasons why.
And there are legitimate reasons. Right. I get it. We live in a very different culture.
Right. Different times.
But what we want to caution you guys is throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right. And I think in the midst of that, people have forgotten to build community.
Yep.
And so they become so isolated because we're so protective. We're so protective of our children that we've lost community. And so I think that one of the things that is essential when we talk about building a team, you got to realize that you need a community to raise your children. And so if we go to point number 1.
So point number 1, really quickly, I want y'all to put this in the chat. In order to be able to successfully build a team that is winning, it's one thing to build a team around your child. It's another thing to build a winning team.
Right.
And we see teams all the times, and I'll use some sports analogies because I want y'all to understand the team concept. But number 1, you're going to have to, where your child is concerned, identify the need. Mm-hmm. Put that in the chat. Identify the need. When I say identify the need, Cherie, I remember clearly my mother saying to me when I wrote my first book, How to Raise a Man, Not a Mama's Boy. I put it in this book. And I remember when my mother, I was a young adult. I think Deirdre and I were married at the time. And she said to me, she said, you know what, babe, I'll be honest with you. You know, when you guys were growing up, you and your sister, and, you know, although I have 7 sisters, I grew up with one of them and in our house. And my mother said, I didn't know what to do with you. Mm-hmm. I said, what are you talking about, Mom? She said, as a female, as a woman, as a mom, intuitively, I knew what to do with your sister. I knew she was going to have a period at some point. Mm-hmm. I knew how her emotions would work. I knew, you know, just intuitively, because I'm a woman, I understand what a girl who's growing into a woman goes through.
Right.
I had no reference point to a boy.
Right.
And I want you to hear how deep that is, y'all. Mm-hmm. Here, this is your mother. This is the person that gave birth to you. And she said, as a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, I made a lot of mistakes because I didn't know what to do with you. Now, that sounds funny. It sounds crazy, but it's so true. And why would she?
Right, right. And it's funny that you say that because I remember when we got married, Glenn had a son, had Justin from his previous marriage. And so I had a daughter. I had raised a daughter. I knew how girls work. And literally, it almost felt like there was this alien being that had come into my life because I did not understand little boys.
Right.
I did not understand. It's like the way that he thought, the way that he processed was foreign to me. And it was a struggle in the beginning because I'm like, what is wrong with him? Why does he think that way?
Right. Why did
Who does that?
Right.
And it was foreign to me, but because so I think for me, I had an advantage in one sense because this was my bonus child. And he came in, he was 5. I was like, really, this is foreign. I really don't know how to interact with this child.
Mm-hmm.
I love him.
Yep.
I want to have a relationship with him, but
I don't like him very much because
I don't understand.
I
was able to verbalize that.
Yep.
But as a mother, if this is your biological child, that's probably very hard for you to identify and say, I don't understand.
Yep. Yep.
But I think that you have to realize that there are some things that you aren't going to understand about your child. That you aren't going to, it's going to be, especially if it's, whether it's a father with a daughter, a mother with a son, there are some things that are going to be foreign because it's just not natural. It's not innate in you.
Right.
And that in itself presents a need in alone. And so if you are a single mother and the father's not involved, there are some things about this little boy growing up to be a man that you're not going to understand.
Guys,
you're not going to know.
Let me ask y'all this. If y'all agree, if you understand what we're saying, if this makes sense, just give me a thumbs up. If this makes sense to you, give me a thumbs up. Cherie, you said something really powerful. I just want to, before we go into number 2, I want to make sure that this point is understood. When we talk about identifying the need, to identify something denotes that you're going to have to go in search of. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to be very, very in tuned to what's going on. And what that really means is that you're going to have to take some time to really, really understand. Again, when I sat down and had this conversation with my mom, she would say stuff like, I could put your sister over there and she could sit down and play with a toy and say, well, you just do your thing. But you, back in those days, we had playpens. I don't know. Y'all remember the playpens? We had playpens.
They're not allowed to have those no more.
They're not allowed. Playpens are not allowed.
You can't have those no more.
Oh, really? What happened?
That's abusive to put your child in
a playpen.
Yeah, because it's like a dog crate.
They equate that to
it. You can't do
my goodness. Well, we was raised in a dog crate.
Look.
So I would be on my way. Y'all remember I had the web netting around the playpen, so you have the bumper type foam thing at the top, and then you would have this web netting around the thing so them jokers wouldn't get out, right? Mm-hmm. I see where they're going with the dog crate. Now I see the correlation. Yeah. But your man would have his fingers and his toes in the little web joint. Trying to climb out. And if she wasn't careful, I'd be up and out that playpen. And she said, boy, I just didn't know what to do with this boy. It's like, what in the world? Now, here's the crazy thing. As much as I was a boy, what she also didn't understand that there were some fundamental things with boys that if you understand how they think, it will help you to connect with them much better. So when we talk about identifying the need, that brings me to number 2. Did you want to say something before I go to number 2?
I wanted to go to something else with identifying the need. Now, we're talking about whether it's a mother with a son or a father with a daughter, but another way to look at identifying the need, you may not. So let's deal with older children. They're in school. Like they got this new math now. New math.
Right.
I don't understand new math.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I didn't.
So
I failed.
I identified a need that we're going to need to bring a tutor in because I don't know.
I don't know how to do that.
It's you owning up and realizing that there are areas that you don't know, that you don't understand, and seeking that help.
Yep.
But you have to be honest with yourself and realize I'm insufficient in this one area.
Yep.
And I need to get help.
Yep.
To help my child.
And so that brings us really to number 2. That's a great segue. We got all these thumbs up. Look, Daryl is falling out laughing, talking about people. Karen talking about people are crazy. Tiffany gave us a thumbs up. Andrea said because boys climb over them. Mine now is 17 years old. It's like confinement. No, I get it. We're talking about the playpen. Look. I get it. But look, and Shanice, I love it, Shanice. I didn't do well with the old math. Shanice, they don't understand. Your man was getting high in 9th grade in algebra. Okay. So if I was I couldn't help myself.
So you gotta stop saying it because you can't run for president. You keep telling people you.
Did I used to get high? Well, I guess I won't be running for president then. But here's the point I'm making, y'all, is that when you recognize that you are deficient, I want y'all to say in the put in the tag hashtag we all need some help. Put that in the chat. And I'm serious. When you're not self-aware as a parent and you don't recognize what you don't know and you don't go out and seek to know what you don't know, your children by default will lose.
Yes.
Every single time. I'm going to say that again. Part of positioning your kids and building the right team around them, listen to me, I'm talking to you parents as a coach. I'm talking coach to coach. Think of yourself as a coach. You are trying to win the championship. How do you do that? You have to have the best players on the squad. Now, there are some days where you just have what you have and you can't exchange players out. As a parent, you can't exchange your kids. They're yours. But what you can do is you can put them in the best possible position to win. What you do is you go get educated, figure out what you don't know so that you can implement it. And that brings us to number 2. That's when you begin to recruit to grow. Put that in the chat. Recruit to grow. As a coach, your job is to recruit the kinds of teachers around your players in order to put them in the best possible position to win.
Right. And so that's where you bring in the trainer. You bring in trainers for the
So wait a minute, this team has an actual trainer?
Yes.
So
if your child, okay, so I'm gonna give you something real quick. So if my child they wanna dance. I don't dance like that. I wasn't trained professionally to dance.
Not at all.
So I'm not gonna sit at home with them and I'm gonna teach you how to learn ballet.
Not doing that.
That's not my skill set. So I take you somewhere for you to get that. This is real practical. This is real simple. So whatever the area is, like I talked about the math, if that's not my strong suit, I'm going to bring in a tutor to help my child with that. If it's whatever area it is, if it's them wanting to be, they want to learn how to cut trees down. I don't know, whatever it is, you have to bring somebody else in to help in that area that's not your strong suit. The thing that's essential is that you can't do everything.
And I think
and it's you being honest with yourself and being humble enough to admit that you don't know everything.
Guys, let me tell you something right now. What changed the game for me, I remember when Shantae was in 9th grade, and this is where it hit home for me. I told y'all, when I was in 9th grade, your man was getting high before going to school. I'm sorry. That's what was happening.
We're trying to run for president.
And so at that particular point, I knew when this girl was taking some AP course in math, and she had a teacher who was a former college professor. She was going to a private school, and I never will forget, it may have been the first quarter of the year, maybe the second quarter of the year. She came home, she was crying. I said, "What's wrong, babe?" She said, "Dad, progress reports hadn't even come out. But we just got our grades back, and I have a D in this class." Now, you have to understand something about my daughter. She's never had a D in her life at this point, ever. So she is freaked out. She's like, "Oh my God, like, I don't know." Now, we've only taken 3 tests, so I know that there's not a lot to go against this grade, but I can't believe I'm getting a D. I don't. And then she goes into this like soapbox about how this guy's not teaching her.
Right.
So I said, "Really? Explain." Guys, I'm giving you a practical lesson on how to recruit and how to identify the need. So I'm listening. I'm doing my research. I'm listening, and I'm saying, "Do tell." So she's telling me all this stuff. So I said, "Well, let's do this. Let's go up here to the school and let's find out what's going on." So I get involved. I take a half a day. I take a day, whatever time I need it. We go up to the school. We set up a meeting. I sit down with the guy. Come to find out, this guy is from South Africa. And he is a former college professor, and he is teaching an AP class in a private school. He's training these kids to be ready for college. Listen to me really carefully. In him doing that, he is not going to give them the work. He's going to give them the tools to figure it out, but he's training them for the next level. Now, because most kids are used to someone giving them the plan, giving them and doing more teaching than training, they're 2 different things. She was messed up. When we left that thing, I said, "I totally understand." So what I did was I told my daughter flat out, I said, "Here's what's not going to happen. Your man can't help you with the math. But here's what we're going to do. And we got together. I never will forget. We did two things, strategize. We found an after school program that they had at that school that helped even AP students get it, right? So that was the teaching part. Here's the part that I do bring to the table. I know people. I know people very well. It's what I do for a living. So what I began to do is train my daughter on how to communicate her frustrations effectively and efficiently with an adult. So we started going through some training at home on how to speak up, speak out, do it effectively, do it with tact, do it with great diplomacy, and slow down and communicate what it is that you need. Right. And that's what I brought to the table. So what I did was the way we recruited to grow, I recruited the extra trainer to help train her. And that's when I realized she had a friend of hers who was taking this. Y'all need to hear this. She had a friend of hers who was in the same tutoring class who had gotten an A in calculus.
Who was getting an A?
She was being tutored, even though she had gotten an A in calculus earlier in the year. And I asked, I said, well, babe, why are you being tutored? She said, because it was too hard to get that A. Go figure. Why am I saying that? Because this is the environment that she's around. It's not an accident that today our daughter has 2 masters and she's in her second year of her PhD and she's not 35 yet. Do y'all see how that goes? That wasn't accidental. Y'all got to hear that. So when you recruit to grow, you're recruiting people who bring value to the table and you put them around. And guys, it didn't cost us any extra than what we were already spending.
Right. And I think that the thing that's essential is that, and this starts early, you have to position your child. You have to put them in position with the right people for them to gain the things that they need so that they can continue to grow. You can't, if you see that your child is excelling in an area, you're going to have to put things in place to help them to continue to grow in that area. Or if they're struggling in an area, you want to make sure that you position them to grow. And I want to go back to this. You have to be honest with yourself and be humble enough to admit that you don't know everything. Admit that you need help. And I think that that's one of the biggest things with parents. Often we're going to try to figure it out on our own. But in our figuring it out on our own, our children are hurting because you can't do everything.
Yep.
And we put this on ourselves that we can do everything. And you don't have to. When you have a community, that helps to take some of that weight off of you on the areas that you aren't strong with, that aren't your strong suits, so that your child can still get. And you're not, fumbling around trying to figure everything out and them not getting what they need because you won't reach out and ask for help.
Absolutely. Note to self. I can't do everything. Tiffany, I love it. I love it. Some of you guys are saying, teaching is different than training. Sharon Forbes said that. Nicole, good. Karen said, okay, I get it. Tiffany's like, I get it. I see it. Yes. Be honest and be humble. Nicole, that's exactly right. Guys, listen, if you are not a part of our Marriages and Parenting Successfully community, we certainly want to invite you to be a part of that. If somebody can drop the link, the crcoach.com, go to that link, and find out more about who we are and what we do. Cherie and I, yes, we've written 7 books together, but we're parents. Yes, we do public talks and we do stuff like this and we do trainings and we do, we're speakers, but we're parents. Yes, we have had some wins with coaching other people, but we're parents.
Right.
I keep going back to that because this is practical. This is something that we're doing and we are winning. Number 3, I'm going to help you guys out. If you're ready for number 3, put ready in the chat. But here's the challenge. Many of you guys will live on Cliff Notes and press clippings. And so you'll jump on these lives every week faithfully. You'll be here before we get here. But the problem is that you really aren't winning in your life and you think that just these little tips are enough. And the problem with that is, guys, listen to me really carefully. The problem with that is, and hold on 1 second. Looks like my screen just timed out. I hope we didn't lose you guys. Give me a second. Okay. Great. We didn't lose you guys. I just couldn't see y'all for a second. But the problem with that is this. Listen to me, guys. The problem is that you don't have the community part that it takes to win. Sheree, I think one of the biggest game changers for us is that we had people who could model and people who we had access to who were doing what we wanted to do.
Right.
And as a result of that, it became not only easier, but it became accessible. So all the heavy lifting that most people had to do, we didn't have to do it because we had a community of people that we were involved with week after week after week after week, where we got to have that kind of access.
Right. And I think it's key for you to position yourself to be in a community, in an environment with like-minded people. And so if you have those type of people around you, it's going to be a lot easier to get those people around your children.
Absolutely.
And so if you know, and I go back, if you're living this isolated, insulated life where you don't have no friends, you don't have nobody, it's just you and your crew and that's it. You're not getting the benefit of wisdom and input from other people.
You don't have you don't have relationships.
So it's going to be very hard for you to get that poured into your children. And
yep.
I think that is essential. I think that, like I said, I think that the culture today of this whole insulated lifestyle, this whole, it's just people, you live in a neighborhood, you don't even speak to your neighbors
at all.
It's like, really? It's like, what is that?
Right.
It's like, you can't speak. You can't just say hi.
And that's crazy when you live in an apartment and literally you got to bump into each other walking down the same set of steps,
right.
But you really don't even speak to each other.
And I think that the danger of that is that you close yourself off and you teach your children to close themselves off from other people.
Absolutely.
And so nobody's reaching out for help. Nobody is, saying that they need assistance. And you're not helping each other because we're living this insulated life, and it's very hard to grow.
Right.
And the down the road, the effect of that is children that now they grow into adults, they're in the workplace, and they don't know how to be a team player.
Let me tell y'all something right now. That is important. There are a lot of people, guys, and we're going to go to number 3 really quickly, Sheree, and we've already been talking about it, but I want to address a question that somebody posted on their Facebook page earlier this week. And the question was, how do you raise a young boy to be a man of God? That was the question. This person posted on their own page. And I thought about that for a second. And y'all know, if somebody posts something like that on their page, I can't just scroll past that and keep it moving. I'm so sorry. And so the question become, and Karen, do me a favor, somebody put it in the chat, www.thecrcoach.com is how you can find out what we do in our MAPS Relationship Academy. That's where we grow parents. That's where we grow couples. That's where we grow singles in their relationships. And that's why it's no accident that we are raising up a group of people who are flat out winning when it comes to these areas. But here's what I want you to do. It messed me up when she said that. And she posted it. And it's a single mother who I happen to know personally. And I said, you know what? The short answer is you get him around other men of God.
Yes.
That's the short answer. Let me tell you what I know about children. Children do what you do.
Yes.
They don't do what you say.
Right.
I want y'all to hear that. We say that so often that it becomes cliche, and it's like the paraphernalia on your office wall. Like you just don't even see it anymore. Listen to me carefully, guys. If children do what you do and not what you say, why wouldn't you show them what you wanted them to do by doing it?
Right, right.
Listen to me carefully. Why would you keep running your mouth? Why would you keep beating your gums? Why would you keep fussing about the same thing? Why would you do that? The reason why is because you're stuck in an unproductive habit that you just do out of, it's your habit to fuss. I thought I told you, why? Why don't you do something that works? Clearly that's not working because you wouldn't have to keep doing it if it worked. If you want your child to turn out to be something that you see in him or you would desire for them, get them around that.
Right.
That's the end of the story. And I promise you, over time, they are going to do what they see, not what you say.
Right. And I'll give you a real practical example of that. So early on, when my daughter was young, I was very controlling. I was very OCD-ish. I was not very nice. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I had to grow in. But as I changed, as I grew, as I changed, and I started changing in a lot of areas. I never sat down and had a conversation with her that, you shouldn't do this, you should do this. per se. She just saw me change. She saw my actions change, even my interactions with Glenn. When we got married, I was a very different wife than I was in my 2 previous marriages. And she got to witness that. She got to watch that. She got to see how I was. And it amazes me today. My daughter's married. They will be married 10 years come June. And I watch her do certain things. And I'm like, I never had a conversation with her and told her that she should do that.
Right.
Or this is how you should treat your husband. Or this is how you respect your husband. But I watch her and I see that she was watching me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's emulating some of the same things that I did. But we never sat and had a conversation about those things.
Nope.
And so with your child, even with your young children, they will emulate what you do. So if you're mean and nasty, and little kids, it's very apparent. Like if you ever have kids, you ever listen to them when they're playing in their room. Oftentimes kids that are raised in homes that if the parents fight a lot, if you guys argue a lot, sit outside their room one day and listen to them playing, especially if you got a girl. And
Yeah, this is
dolls,
good. That's good, babe.
They'll be interacting, they'll be reenacting your arguments with their dolls.
Yep.
Because that's what they're learning. That's how mommy and daddy are supposed to be.
Yep. Or that's how mommy and daddy is.
Right.
And so therefore they have now picked up on that is what it's supposed to be.
Right. And so you got to remember that they are watching everything that you do.
So if that's true, guys, why not give them something good to watch?
Right.
Number three, and we've been saying it the whole time. Number 3 is position your kid.
Yep.
As a coach, let me tell you what my job is, a relationship coach. Okay, I'm just give you a quick example. So my job as a coach is not that of a counselor. I want y'all to hear this really clearly. The fundamental difference of a coach versus a counselor, and I want y'all to hear this in parenting terms, is this. Counselors generally deal with very deep-seated issues that involve trauma, that involve you having to heal from something deep-seated within you. Issues a lot of times that came up in your childhood, how you were raised, your environment, how you were shaped, what informed your current behavior. They do deep diving work in the area of understanding and peeling back layers of trauma, and they help sit with you. And because that's a deep work, it takes a long time. Right. So oftentimes you will sit with a counselor for years on end, dealing with the things that you've had to go through that have hurt you immensely. Coaches, however, and there's a reason why you would go to both. Mm-hmm. We often will tell our clients, you need a counselor, you need a therapist, and we can recommend one for you. And you also need a coach, because here's what a coach does. A coach draws up the game plan after assessing what it is that you need. They draw up an effective game plan to put it in so that you can implement it. And then their job is to hold you accountable to executing the game plan. So as coaches in the relationship world, we draw up game plans for people and help them execute it. We don't do that work for you.
Right.
Does that make sense? That is your work to do. The same way in our business coaching community. We're there to help people think through what they should be doing. Now, if you as a parent understand this, when you begin to position your kid, what you're doing is you're actually drawing up a game plan, because as a coach, my job is to put the best team on the field. Right. And if my child is out of position and they're playing the wrong position, we're going to lose. So my job as a parent is really to coach them by positioning them in the right place. Jim Collins in his book From Good to Great said it this way. It's not enough to have people on the bus. You got to have them in the right place on the bus for us to take this journey successfully.
Right. And so as a parent, so if you see that your child is lacking focus, you see that they're struggling with focus in school, a way to position them to gain focus is to get them involved in maybe picking up a musical instrument. That's one of the greatest ways for a child to learn focus.
Absolutely.
If they are musically inclined, get them involved in taking music lessons of some type. If you realize that your child is struggling with discipline and just really having a hard time just grasping general disciplinary things, just personal discipline. They're not staying on top of their tasks. They're just not organized. They just don't have that and some kids just don't have it in them. It's a real fight. It's a struggle.
Structure.
It's a struggle for you. Get them involved in an organized sport.
Yep.
Because they'll learn that discipline. And so those are ways that you position them. If it's academically, like I said, get them a tutor.
Yep.
And I know that off the top, this sounds like this is more money you got to put up, but there are ways to do these things without it even costing you.
Absolutely.
If you are positioning yourself through your relationships.
Come on, babe.
To be able to get them that. And so that's why I go back to it again. You cannot live an insulated or isolated life when you have children because you need a community.
Yep, you absolutely. Guys, at the end of the day, when I say we all need some help, that's more than a hashtag. It's a lifestyle. I cannot get to any place of significance by myself. If I do, I haven't gone very far. You guys have heard me say that over and over and over again. It's because it's the way we live. Listen, we're going to have to get ready to get out of here for the day. We're getting ready to jump over. I've got a master class to teach at 9:00. So we've got a whole group of people super excited about what we're going to be learning today. Shout out to the MAPS Masterclass community. Tiffany, good to see you on the thing. Tiffany says, as coach helps you with strategy and put forth a game plan, you have to do the work. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. You're welcome. Hey, Sharon is saying, thank you. Cherie, position your children. Thanks for sharing that, Linwood. Guys, do me a favor. Do me a huge favor. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. If you know of anybody that needs this information, share it, because at the end of the day, I guarantee you, you are a conduit. You are a person who can help another person get to where they need. Let's not be selfish with what it is that we're learning. Cherie and I don't get paid to do Breakfast with the Brookses. This morning, Cherie literally said, why are we doing this? I'm going to use this as a teachable moment. This is not something that she thought I would say. We were on our way. We live 30 minutes from where we broadcast live. Before, we used to do it from our own home. It was very convenient. And so Cherie she's a mother. She's a wife. She has, she's in school. She's trying to get her bachelor's. She's also a coach. She's helping me in the business. She's got a lot on her plate. And she says, babe, 3 hours out of my day is what Breakfast with the Brookses costs me every week, because I have to get up and I have to travel and we have to go through all these changes. And it's throwing my mind up. Why are we doing this again? And I said to myself, wow, that's a great question. And I said, my answer was that to add value to people in a way that shows them what right looks like. There's a reason why we're broadcasting live from an environment that looks like this. There are people who will scroll past this page unless they see something that they identify with. Our goal is to create something that people can identify with. And that's why we do what we do. We do not get paid to do Breakfast with the Brookses. So I need you guys to understand that from this perspective. Why do I say that? And what does this have to do with you? Listen, you are showing up and God has given you access to things to help other people. They're not just for you. And I want us to stop being selfish. That's how we flip this world on its ear. That's how we cause people to grow. That's how we help people out in ways that we, quite frankly, we normally wouldn't be, because we're able to now just give them what it is that we know. And thus we're bringing back the notion that it takes a village to raise a child. I hope you guys got something today. We're going to get out of here for the day. Babe, you got anything in closing?
Nope. If you guys love what you see here on Saturday mornings and you want to get more of it, please go to crcoach.com to sign up for a free assessment to see if you're fit to come into one of our closed groups. We do a group for parents. We do a group for couples. We do a women's only group, a men's only group, and starting this week, we are starting a singles group. So if you're a single individual, you've been married before, you're divorced, or you're single, and you want to get married one day, you're in a dating relationship and you're looking for that relationship to move into marriage, please, please, please sign up for a free coaching assessment so that you can get into that group.
Yep. Just scroll down the timeline. I put a direct link in there and it says free MAPS assessment.
Yes.
Click that link, schedule an assessment with us. It'll take 15 minutes of your time and we'll figure it out. We'll help you.
And to answer the question Glenn was posed with this morning, why do we do this? As we were talking, we do this because we want to help people. We both have a passion to help people have healthy relationships, whether it's parenting relationships, marital relationships, just relationships in general, because of the trauma, the pain that we've been through personally in our own lives. we want to add value to you, and we want to help you guys to be able to grow. And so come and grow with us. Join the MAPS Relationship Academy. We appreciate you guys joining us every Saturday. Once again, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. Also share this out to your friends and your family. And we look forward to seeing you every Saturday here at 8 a.m. for Breakfast with the Brooks.
Breakfast with the Brookses. Guys, listen, at the end of the day, guys, y'all already know we all need some help. Y'all be good. We'll talk next week.